Alright, welcome to Getting Into the Groove, and welcome to the floor, where we're going to be spending the rest of this course. I'm sure that you're ready to break right now, and we're about to get into stretching and the physical activities, but before that, you might also be wondering, what should I wear for breaking, and what kind of equipment do I need to really get effective at learning this dance? Which is what I'm going to hope to answer in this video by sharing a bunch of products with you that I personally use, and also ones that I recommend. Everything here is going to be linked in the description of this video, along with other products that I don't physically have here, but I've seen that I also recommend or that I think would be beneficial to you. So, getting right into it, the first item that I would recommend getting would be a good pair of sweatpants. I personally prefer sweatpants because they're comfortable, they're flexible, they're easy to move in, and also whenever you're doing a lot of different sliding moves, you want to make sure that you have some material that is soft, that will protect you and allow you to do slides on the floor pretty easily. Following that, which I would also say is optional, would be getting a tracksuit top. This is not mandatory for breaking. You can also just have an athletic or like a nice t-shirt, but it is very useful for learning power moves. But you'll see later on when we get into the power move section and learn how to do backspins. You can also just go full out 80s Bboy style if that's your thing and buy a full Adidas tracksuit in fire red, which I have also linked in the description of this video below. The next thing I want to go over is shoes, which is super important for breaking, not so much when you're practicing at home, but very important when you're going out and doing competitions and breaking in the streets. The first pair of shoes that I would highly recommend for any B-boy or B-girl would be Adidas Gazelles. I recommend these because they have a more flat and even sole, which is pretty ideal for breaking, but they're still pretty cushioned and pretty thick to where you can honestly dance any style of breaking, do any category of moves in these shoes with relative ease, and also are able to develop pretty flexible styles around them. Following Adidas Gazelles would be Converse low top sneakers. These were really popular when I was breaking back in high school, and I used these for a very, very long time, as you might be able to tell by how scuffed up they are and how many marks are on them. I won several battles with these, and I recommend them because they are very light, and again, they have a more flat sole surface, which is really great for doing footwork and also for doing threading, which is a more advanced concept that I might cover in a future course. The downsides of this is, compared to the Adidas Gazelles, is you'll notice that the soles are not nearly quite as thick as the Gazelles, so if you are to practice a lot of power moves, then these will not, or flips, these will not offer that much protection for your feet. So the type of shoe that you want to choose for breaking can vary a lot based off of the sort of movement within breaking that you prefer and that you want to emphasize more of. So it's just something to keep in mind as you go along your breaking journey. Following the Converses, I would also recommend getting Reebok Classics. These, you can see, have a much thicker, chunky sole. They aren't as flat, which is also, again, why I recommend the Gazelles as sort of like an all-around style breaking shoe. But these are still pretty decent for footwork. These are good for cushioning your feet and protecting your ankles when you do flips and power moves. But where they say they suffer and are lacking are that when you want to perform your leg work, it can be a bit more tricky because the larger size of the shoe makes it easier for the shoe to get caught on the floor while you're performing these movements and makes the movements a lot less smooth. It is also not a good shoe to use if you want to explore more flexible styles of breaking later on, such as doing a lot of different what are called step arm freezes, in which you would plant your foot on your arm like so. As you can imagine, when you are doing a flexible freeze that involves putting your shoe anywhere on your arm and the bottom of the sole looks like this and is very rigid, it will end up hurting you quite a lot and will tear your skin. I have had that experience before. So, to recap so far, Adidas Gazelles, awesome all-around breaking shoe, regardless of whatever style you want to emphasize and develop later on. Converse, awesome breaking shoe for footwork, threading, not so great for power moves and for doing flips. Reebok, pretty good for footwork, pretty good for power moves, not good for leg work, and not good for more advanced threading concepts. And finally, we have the Puma Suede. This version is not actually suede per se, but the traditional breaking shoe that is very popular is the Puma Suede. Again, you can see that these shoes have a more flat design, which makes it pretty good for footwork as well. These ones are lighter than suede. Suedes tend to be a bit heavier, which makes them suffer a little bit in terms of doing freezes and also power moves. Where if you try to do a power move with a shoe that is heavier, note that the Reebok is a bit big, but it's not heavy. When you break with shoes that are heavier, then you have to use a lot more strength and exert a lot more force in order to perform the move. Therefore, you will be a lot less efficient when you're doing power moves using these gigantic shoes. Since these suedes are still more flat in design, they are still good for doing leg work and flowing with that as well. So overall, I would again still recommend the Gazelles for being able to dance well in all the elements, but depending on your preferences, you can choose one of these 4 selections to develop your style. Moving on from shoes, we have a foam roller. This is also optional, but if you plan to break for a long time, I highly recommend getting one. If not, getting a massage gun or some other sort of equipment to use post-breaking so that you can sort of nurture your muscles and give them some relief as they recover from your intense training sessions. Following that, you definitely need to have a speaker or sound system for breaking. Personally, for me, at home, when I'm at home, I use the Google Nest Hub Max over there, which I highly recommend because it not only functions as a picture frame, but can play music and also has a timer function. Whenever I am going to practice spots or training outside my home, I use this Amazon tap. I believe the tap might not be sold anymore, so what you would need to get instead is an Amazon Echo or Amazon Echo Dot, etc. I like the tap because I'm able to take it with me to go as a Bluetooth speaker. Also, it does have a timer function, which is super important for when you are doing drills and you want to sort of keep a consistent routine whenever you're doing your practices. Outside of these, you may optionally also want to get a linoleum flooring. I wasn't able to find a linoleum floor listed anywhere online, but what you can do is you can get these from Home Depot and just sort of measure the dimensions of your house and figure out a good size mat for yourself. Alternatively, I was able to find some puzzle piece mats online that have linoleum on the top. I have not personally tested them out myself, but in theory, it sounds like a pretty efficient setup, so you may want to consider investing in those. If not, then alternatively, you might want to just get a traditional puzzle piece mat, which would be really helpful for later on when you want to learn more freezes and power moves in a safe manner. Personally, as you can see with my setup, I have a puzzle piece mat on the roller as a first layer, and then I put a spinner linoleum floor over it so that I also have the ability to slide around and also be cushioned when I perform different tricks. That concludes this walkthrough of different equipment that you need for breaking. Hopefully now you have a better idea of what things are good to wear and what equipment will be good that can help you progress even faster. Hope you're ready to jump right into it, and I'll see you in the next one.